This show is presented by FL Teams. Check out FLTeams.com to go to one-stop shop for all Florida sports coverage. Also, check out FL Teams on social media. This is High Heat 305. I'm your host, James, and we have a legend, EJ Farbman, the Hurricane Mastermind. Welcome, EJ.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing great. I'm doing fantastic today. This is the last Sunday without Hurricanes football. There's already been the FU. Saturday is where we get the fun started, right?
I know, man. I know. More than the fun. We get the fun started. It's gonna be kind of a double-edged sword because I don't think we're gonna get to see everything that we've been seeing because it's Bethune-Cookman. So, but still, like nonetheless, it's Miami football. It's Miami product on the field for the first time since the inevitable Manny Diaz split, and I couldn't be more excited for it.
Yeah, thank God he's gone. He's the type of name not be named.
Oh man, I could go on. I could go on for days about the negatives that program was heading towards with that coach, head coach, and then those skill position coaches leading those boys. Man, we were heading down a dark alley, an extremely dark alley.
And the worst of all, he only had one good year with Miami. That one good year, and everything else turned into a big downfall. And it sucks.
If you watch him too, whether it was recruiting, whether it was the social medias, everything, like players were bought into not necessarily the program, but the glitz and the glamour, right? The pictures in front of the Lambos, the South Beach, the turnover chains. Like I was always under the preconceived notion that he was selling these kids under false hope, right? I can lure you in with the pretty gyms and the pretty jewelry and the nice cars, but I can't coach you. I can't lead you. So the product was going to be the same regardless of, how many turnover chains we had or how many jerseys we had.
Yeah, it will be when it's false hope. You will them in, play football, and you suck. It's the harsh reality of he who shall not be named. But it's different now, especially someone who has actually been to University of Miami, knows University of Miami, and wants to change what was then a good program.
And the great thing about Cristobal too is he's got championship pedigree. He knows what it takes to get there. He knows what it's like being on the field. He can relate to those guys. I'm not saying that if you didn't play football that you don't have a football IQ, but it's hard to relate in certain situations when you haven't been there, done that type thing. You know what I mean? And I think with the temperament Cristobal brings, with the energy, Feld, the coaching staff, Adai, all those guys, everything that they bring, Kevin Steele. I don't think it can be a lose situation at all for Miami. I mean, whether it's recruiting or on the field, I think it's only up from here.
That's what we're going to talk about. So the preview, the Miami Hurricanes preview, we got a lot of great recruitment throughout the entire offseason.
Yes,
we got 4 stars, 5 stars, Malik Bryant's a good pickup. With the defense being ranked up too, the offensive line is also the big important key to protect a quarterback like Tyler Van Dyke. He needs that desperate protection.
Yep.
And the recruitment with the offensive line is pretty unique and very special and important.
Yeah. So I was a big De'Aaron King fan as a person. I thought he gave his all whenever he was on the field, but you notice that the fluidity of the offense changed when Tyler Van Dyke first took over, right? The year before, during the Virginia game. Obviously, we lost that game, but you could see that the offensive line was more comfortable, right? Because they were able to form a pocket, and Tyler Van Dyke wasn't going to prematurely scramble. Like, he can move a little bit, but De'Aaron King, there was no time for things to develop because his first instinct, even though he was a quarterback, was run. So a lot of people were putting the blame on the offensive line. I never really did because those guys didn't get a chance to hold up a pocket. And if they did, that pocket had to learn how to be mobile. And it is extremely hard as an offensive lineman to make a mobile pocket for someone like De'Aaron King. So I think that's why Tyler Van Dyke, at the end of the day, fit our system and our culture a lot better, because if we want to be an air raid offense, we have to push the ball down the field first. And I don't think De'Aaron King was that guy to do that for us.
I noticed that. I don't think I didn't think it was the guy either. When Van Dyke came in to play football, I noticed that he could throw a football down the field. I watched
Yes.
it happen at Hard Rock Stadium last year. They were playing a number 18th ranked team, NC State.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
watched with my own eyes. He could throw the football. The problem is he who shall not be named wasn't really given that much of an opportunity. That coaching system was run.
Yeah.
They run straight to the defensive line. What are you doing?
Yeah. They ran to the meat of the defense every time. Like we had running backs aside from Cameron Harris. We had Jalen Knight at that point, who was a scat back type. Like he could take contact, right? But he was most dangerous outside the tackle box, whether it was catching a swing pass, a screen, getting loose on something outside the tackles was his forte. And it seemed like every time 3rd and 7 came about or 3rd and long came about, we could essentially draw conclusions that there was going to be a running back draw right to the meat of the defense. So I was a huge TVD fan, Tyler Van Dyke fan when he was in high school. I watched a ton of his film up in Connecticut. He's a leader, and he's not one of the ones that's super vocal, but you can tell with his body language, he never wavers. The team is always in it, regardless if they're down 10 or 21 points. He never lets his team believe that there's not a chance for a W. You know what I mean? And you have to have that at the college level. Like you monkey see, monkey do, in a sense. If they see you dropping your head and your shoulders are sagging, the chances are their heads are going to drop and their shoulders are going to sag as well. So, but you don't see that with Tyler Van Dyke. You see just straight leadership and composure the whole way, in the pocket, on the sideline, whatever.
That's what the Hurricanes need. Leadership, not just playing football. It needs tons of leadership.
Yep.
Van Dyke, I think he potentially could have that leadership under Cristobal. I think he could do it. I really think he could do it. We have the schedule up and ready. They started with Bethune-Cookman, which is, I learned this a while ago, that they're actually rivals with Florida A&M, another Florida school.
Yep.
And then this is this Saturday at ACC Network, Southern Miss, and those are the games to get things going. I think those typically, we agree it's an automatic W. But then the real test would go on a road to Texas A&M, who are ranked number 6 right now. Right now, the Hurricanes are ranked number 16 with the recruitments and a lot of commitments too. But yeah, the Texas A&M is the big test early in the season. Then we play against MTSU, North Carolina. I think North Carolina is also a good team to watch too. Virginia Tech, Duke, Virginia Cavaliers, FSU, Georgia Tech, Clemson, another big game to watch, which is night. And Pittsburgh, a pretty good schedule, and things start off.
They got Keaton Slovis too, and he was no slouch at USC. He was the USC transfer, and he won the starting job last week. So, they don't have the Mark Whipple offense like they did before, but the kid can still sling it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Before we talk about our predictions, what do you think is the best recruitment player we had off season?
Offense or defense?
Both. I'm going to say both.
I think you can't dismiss Trayvon Citizen.
Yeah.
Obviously, when he gets healthy, I think he injured his shoulder or something this summer. But if we're talking from a healthy perspective, it would have to be, to me, the offense. I think Nigel Kelly is going to be. I think he's going to be an absolute monster, man. He has a ridiculous frame. He's got ridiculous reach. If you watch his film at IMG, his hand technique is superb, man. He doesn't bank off of bull rushes. He actually has hand technique, I'm not going to say on the Aaron Donald level, but you can see that if he keeps working at it, it's going to progress. I'm also a big Cyrus Moss fan.
Yeah.
I like his 6'6", 6'7" frame. Gives you a little bit of like a lanky Greg Rousseau type of vibe to it. Obviously, he just put some meat on his bones. But for me, other than Nigel Kelly being one that's going to get some significant playing time, the offensive tackle, I can't pronounce his name for some reason, but being the number one at a position and committing to the University of Miami, he's number one offensive lineman in the country, right?
Yeah.
To me, other than having him on the field, it sets a standard to let other recruits know, hey, this program's going to be taken serious. Like if we're getting number ones at any position or top fives at any position, it's going to let the rest of the country know, hey, if this guy goes there and he trusts this coaching staff and he trusts this university, I might as well do it too. And I think that's gonna solidify a lot of questions in recruits' heads. Is that, I haven't seen anyone big go there yet, so I don't know if I should. I think that offensive tackle signing that we got this previous cycle, I think it's gonna be leaps and bounds. It's gonna be a big trendsetter for bigger name high school athletes.
Yes.
Putting Miami in their top 2, top 3, and then maybe inevitably committing to them.
Yes, absolutely. Or offer a scholarship to University of Miami if this was a big deal. And it already is a big deal even in the off season.
Yep.
And with that, the 5 stars, the 4 stars, this team is they could steal the ACC.
Yeah.
That's
if to me, obviously, I'm a big Mike Redding fan. I've shown Mike Redding support since he was at IMG Academy. I absolutely love the kid, love his character. I've had plenty of personal conversations with him. He's a great human being, and not only is he a great human being, but he's a great worker too. I got the privilege to write some speed acceleration and deceleration programming for him over the summer. And he would send me a couple videos saying, hey, am I doing this exercise right? There's not a lot of people at the D1 level, whether it's Miami, Bama, whatever, that are going to send someone a video and say, hey, tell me if I'm doing this right, because the ego doesn't allow that to happen, right? And the kid is so humble and he's so willing to learn. We don't have a number one receiver yet on the outside, and I think very, very soon Mike Redding will shed some light on that, and he'll be our number one go-to. I mean, he's been, to me, he's comparable to Andre Johnson because of his frame. The kid's huge, man. He's 6'3", he's 215 pounds. He knows how to use his frame, knows how to use his body, catches with a strong radius, strong hands. There's not enough good I can say about him as a person, let alone football player. So I am extremely excited to see the product he puts on the field, because I know he's been busting his butt all summer long.
Yeah, he wants this opportunity. We can all agree, everyone wants an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
The opportunity to win and possibly to win a championship. I've already said, Perfume and Southern Miss, probably the automatic W's. Texas A&M, like I said, is going to be a good test. With Texas A&M, the Hurricanes had like a pretty good chance. It's actually, prediction said 74% chance to beat Texas A&M, which is pretty generous to say, especially against a good school. Then you got,
and here's the thing too with Texas A&M, Devon Achane is their number one running back. He's a pass catching threat along with Amari Daniels. There's been looming conversations that he may miss the Miami game, and if he misses the Miami game from Max Johnson is their transfer quarterback from LSU, who we don't really know how integrated he is in the system yet. So they're leaning heavily on Devon Achane to be able to kind of carry the load and be Max Johnson's security blanket. If he's not able to play, man, that is a huge, huge knock for Texas A&M and a huge plus for Miami.
That gives us a chance to actually overwhelm the offense.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. If we're able to overwhelm Max Johnson and he doesn't have a safety net in Devon Achane, I know Amari Daniels is there. Yeah. I mean, it could be turnover city. It could be sack city. It could be all the above, man.
Yeah. And with that could be a W depending on the roster. And not little on our rosters are good, healthy players.
Yep.
But yeah, MTSU, I think it's a W.
Easily.
Yeah. North Carolina is an interesting one. Virginia Tech is also a good one too. I think Duke, we have this one. Virginia, Florida State, I think those are all W's. Georgia Tech on the road, and a big one, Clemson Tigers, ranked number 4. Yeah, that one.
Well, here's the thing too. I think we pull out either the Clemson or Texas A&M game, and I think unfortunately, because I hope the tide changes. Miami's known for dropping games that they should win, right? Whether it's a Virginia Tech, whether it's a North Carolina, whether it's a Virginia Cavaliers, I don't want to say this because I don't want to put bad juju in the air, but I almost feel like we'll be victorious in one of those two big games, and then we'll drop something stupid. You know what I mean? Like an ACC game we shouldn't drop. But here's the difference in that too. The transfer portal, we were able to get Mitchell Agude, the defensive end, Akeem Mesidor from West Virginia, who is an absolute animal. Wait till you see him on the field. And then Caleb Johnson, the linebacker from UCLA. That's leadership on the field, vocal leadership at a middle linebacker position that, in my opinion, we haven't had since Denzel Perryman.
Yeah.
I don't consider Michael Pickney. I don't consider Shaq Quarterman in that realm. I think they laid down a lot, and they gave up physically and mentally during their time at Miami. We haven't seen what we're going to see out of a leadership role since Denzel Perryman, in my opinion.
I agree with your opinion. I strongly agree with your opinion. One more game, Pittsburgh. That's also a good one. They're both 16 and 17.
Yep.
What do you say? My question to you is, of every team I just mentioned, who is the biggest challenger of the season? I say Clemson.
I think it has to be Clemson because it's an ACC foe, right?
Yeah.
But I think to show that we can compete with other conferences, the litmus test is the SEC game, in my opinion. If we go in there and we lay a whooping, not even a whooping, like a 3-point victory, 7-point victory, whatever, on one of the upper echelon SEC teams, some kids may look at those SEC schools and be like, man, Miami's for real. They just beat a top 3 team in the SEC. Why would we not start considering Miami over the Georgias, the Bamas, the Texas A&Ms? So,
and SEC is the biggest conference in America, one of the strongest conference of football in America.
Easily. And that's what I'm saying. They grab 3/4 of the 4 and 5-star products out there, right? So if we're able to beat a top program like that, who's on the up and coming with Jimbo there, I mean, why would people not start taking us more seriously from a recruiting perspective? You know what I mean?
It ain't just Alabama. It also ain't just, Georgia either.
Well, look who beat Bama last year. A&M did.
A&M did, absolutely. That's with that victory over Alabama, the third game, Texas A&M. That's something to take this seriously. It's not a cakewalk. I don't think any of the games with the good reputation is we cannot underestimate them. We have to take them seriously.
Yeah, I think Clemson is a good litmus test for the division, for the conference, right? For the ACC title. I think A&M is a better litmus test for the program and where we're at as a football program, because I think at the end of the day, people are going to take us much more seriously if we beat a top-tier SEC team than if we beat a top-tier ACC team.
Yeah. It can't be the ACC. It has to be SEC.
Has to be, man.
Programs too.
Yeah, has to be, man. I'm not big on Clemson this year. I think their front seven is going to be really good with Brian Brees coming back from injury last year.
Yeah.
They have a really good linebacking core, but DJ Uyunglele, I call him DJ Ooey Gooey because I think his feet are stuck in mud when he tries to run. I'm not a big trust guy in him, so I think if we're able to rattle him early, it could be similar to what Georgia did to him.
Yeah.
And we could get him off his spots, get him out of the pocket, get him panicking a little bit. So to me, the Texas A&M, you're playing Jimbo Fisher too, right? He had our number quite a bit when he was at Florida State. So it'd be nice to see him going over to A&M, spending all that money to get those players there, and then turn around and lay a little bit of a smackdown in College Station.
Yeah, I agree. If they can lay a smackdown, I think personally for me, if we can remain healthy and consistent, we should be around 10-2.
Easy. 10-2. Easy. I think we'll drop something stupid like a Pittsburgh or a UNC or a Virginia Tech, something we shouldn't lose to off of turnovers or fumbles or just simple mistakes. But if we can come away with one of the two Clemson, Texas A&M games, I don't care which one really, because I think both of them are going to do leaps and bounds for our program. If we can come away with one of those two, I mean, Miami's already on the uprising. You're going to see us shoot up boards even faster, though.
Yeah. The shoot-up boards, that's something to look after. There's one shooter board on leadership. We talked about leadership, right?
Yep.
It's our Mario Cristobal effect. Let me explain real quick. Off the field, we talked about the recruitments and leadership and the top players coming in to University of Miami, already making an impact. And another thing too with Cristobal, he has attended University of Miami before. He loves this school. He knows Miami and
Mm-hmm.
knows the culture of Miami. And I'll give you an example. Back in January of this year, right? There was a basketball game. It is on national television on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
The game was against FSU. I think the day was January 22nd. That's on a Saturday, if I can remember. The game was against FSU Seminoles at home. Hurricanes were getting their kicks, right? They were getting slaughtered. They were losing by like 30 points.
Yep.
In half, they come back in. FSU still shooting good basketball, but somewhere in those lines, the Hurricanes were starting to rally up to make this biggest comeback in their basketball history. And before the timeout ended, we saw Cristobal in the stands, had a microphone, and
yes,
let's go.
Yes. And I think the Mario Cristobal effect is real. And I mean, you can look from where we're at with Manny Diaz, like trashing the turnover chains was huge. I think getting rid of those was a big focal point for him because it was a beacon for false hope. And I say that because why in the world would you let a player put on a turnover chain when you're down 27 points to Bama? Why in the world would you let anyone put that on at any point in time that we're losing? And to me, it was more of an individual accolade than a team accolade, right? When I have football players on the field, I want them playing for each other at the end of the day, right? It's 11 on 11 personnel, offense, defense. To me, there was too much individualism that was highlighted with those turnover chains. If the only reason I can get you to perform is to show you a chain and let you be able to post it on your Instagram or your Twitter or whatever it is, I got the wrong guys on the field. You know what I mean? I don't have the right way. So to me, that was a massive move by Mario to say, hey, look, the past is done. Like, we're trashing that stuff. We've got a new era and we've got a new meaning of the word win. So I think the Mario Cristobal effect is 1,000% real.
Not only it's happening on the Hurricane standpoint, you could also argue that it's happening all around the Miami area, the South Florida area.
Yes.
Like ever since he took over, many good things happened. We're going to all talk about the Hurricanes, but I'm just trying to prove a point here. The Heat almost made it to the NBA Finals. The Panthers had their best season ever.
Yes.
Dolphins traded for Tyreek Hill. That's
yes.
Marlins still stink. That hasn't changed.
That is what it is.
That's what it is. But
yeah.
And then we're at the scenario where the players love each other. They trust each other. And the coaching staff, we didn't even go to this. The coaching staff is improved too. So there's a lot of trust in this football team. And the scary part about it all, he hasn't even coached a game yet this season.
Yeah, and here's the amazing thing with Mario. It's not only from a performance thing that the Cristobal effect comes in. He knows what it takes to make a total program successful. He knows at the end of the day, and Manny Diaz wouldn't do this, the Voldemort of Miami football, we don't speak of. He wouldn't do this because he was a yes man, because he knows he was fortunate to have that job to begin with. He wasn't qualified to lead Miami. He wasn't qualified to head coach. And so Mario started going around and saying, hey, we need more money in this program. We got billion-dollar boosters flooding Miami Beach. Why are we not getting more involved financially? Then the resignation of the AD came. Then they went and hired the old Clemson AD, and you start to see things turn around. We get new locker rooms. We get stadium proposals, all the above. And to me, like that's going to buy kids in to know that not only are you physically invested in my future, but you're financially invested in my future as well. You know what I mean? With everything that's involved, it's showing that Mario is 120% serious about not only bringing the athletics up, but bringing the culture up as well.
Funny thing you mentioned the stadium, right? There was one thing I didn't mention. Inter Miami, they recently had their stadium proposed, and that got approved to the city commissions. That stadium, privately funded by the owners of David Beckham.
Yep.
This community is growing rapidly since this decade started. You know, we had this pandemic.
Yep.
A lot of great things happened since the pandemic. It's like smoothing over.
Sure.
Absolutely, right? Inter Miami has this stadium approval from the city commissions. But the Hurricanes are kind of stealing Inter Miami's idea.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this stadium, though, that's being proposed? So, located a proposed. Can I finish?
Yeah.
So, Tropical Park, right? It's
Yeah.
a master plan. There's two lakes. There's the one where you could have a boats. That's the East Lake. And then there's a South Lake, which you can go fishing in. With this plan, the stadium is right outside towards the East Lake, which where you put boats. And that's supposed to represent how Inter Miami was had their stadium look. It has the glass, it has like shine through it.
Everything modern that comes with Miami is what it's supposed to be about.
Everything. And the projected seating is like 65,000. I think that's pretty crazy.
I think that's so. Have you ever been to a hockey game before?
Of course, I've been to a few Panthers games. I've been to a Ranger game at MSG.
Right. So you know the crowd. I know it's got a dome over the top, and so the sound's obviously staying in there longer, right? Yeah. But even though they only have 18, 20, 25,000 people, there aren't many other places when it comes to like stadium formats, whether it's pro, college, whatever, that have much more vibration and rock than hockey does, right? And it shows you don't have to have a ton of seats to do it. It's just the atmosphere. It's the universal cheering. It's everything that goes along with it. So I would have been A-okay. Like, I think the Tennessee Titans Stadium is one of the smaller stadiums in the NFL. I think it seats like around 70,000 people-ish, give or take. Right. I don't know if you've ever been to a Titans game or the Titans Stadium over at Nissan Field. It's one of the loudest when it gets going because everything's so compact. So I've always loved the idea of a smaller stadium, and I mean, you can amp that crowd noise up and keep it more funneled, keep it more center. I'm excited. I think the plan and the landscaping for it's going to be great too.
Do you think the stadium will be approved?
I think inevitably it will be. I think there's too much money floating around for it not to be. It's just, I think it's more so finding the land, making sure the transportations are right. They're going to Hard Rock anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. I think inevitably between Miami, their ADs, the president, Ruiz, I know he's a $20 billion booster that's obviously been put towards a ton. I don't see how it doesn't get done, in my opinion.
I agree. And they already got the land out, which is that Tropical Park. I think it's somewhere near the Coral Gables area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure where the public transit is going, but I know it goes. But the public transit, it does go through Coral Gables, so maybe it's close enough to the park, but not like outside of the park.
Right.
No, but the point here is if they want to go to that stadium near the open area, they got to at least have a public transit where it's close where they can walk.
Absolutely. I mean, there's got to be something that's not just vehicle oriented, right? Yeah. Whether it's bike pass, whether it's walking pass, whatever the case is, it's going to have to be multidimensional from a transportation perspective. I think that's how you're going to flood people in too, by giving people options to get there. Maybe not all the students own a car, right? Maybe not all the students, maybe not all the faculty owns a car. Maybe there's people who live close and they ride bikes or motorcycles or whatever the case is. So I think having multiple routes of transportation is going to be huge for them to get the community to buy into it as well.
I agree. When it does, public transit is going to be really busy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and here's the thing too. Like, if I have the option to ride a bike or take my car and pay for parking, you can bet I'm taking a bike over there. You know what I mean? Stadium parking is enough as is. If I have an option to where I got to put a little bit more physical effort into getting there, but I don't have to pay for parking, you better believe I'm going to take that route, especially on a cool Miami night. I mean, with the breeze coming off the ocean, like there's no reason why I wouldn't walk or take a bike there.
And not to mention, there's 3 lakes in that park too. There's the lake, there's the South Lake, and I forgot to mention there's a North Lake. With 65,000 seats hold. We didn't even go over this with the Cristobal effect, but last year they sold about 19,000 tickets. You know how that team is, bizarrely bad.
Yeah.
Before the season started, before it even started at all, the ticket sales went up through the roof. It even passed what was the grand total of last season's tickets that fans attended.
Heck yeah, man! You gotta love that stuff. My only, I know we're talking stadium proposal, and I it's a double-edged sword for me because obviously I love campus traditions, right? I love the Orange Bowl. When it comes to Tennessee football, they run out the T in the end zone, right? So to me, stadium traditions are the best. It keeps the energy alive. It keeps the fans involved. But it's really tough to give away an NFL stadium and say we're not going to use this, right? If you have recruits coming in and you walk them on that field and say, hey, not only are you going to play this on Saturday, but you could be playing this on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
The NFL locker rooms, like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of surreal walking on an NFL field as a college athlete, imagining yourself being there as a professional athlete one day. So I love the idea of the tradition and the proximity of a new stadium being closer to the campus. But at the same time, it's like that NFL stadium is kind of a selling point for some recruits, or it could be, right? The opportunity to play on an NFL field on Saturdays and maybe Sundays, like that's got to be a bit of a selling point to a degree.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 argument.
Yeah.
You want to get that NFL experience at Hard Rock, but at the same time, you want to keep that tradition
I
of
know.
football stadium in the campus. FAU has a stadium in the campus. I saw it. And FIU also has a stadium, and I saw it with my own eyes. It's just a matter of can they pull it off? Can they get the fans in? My answer would probably be yes.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I agree. I think it may be a little slow to start, but once those wheels get turning, I don't think there's going to be anything stopping it. We'll see some accelerated movement on once they get the finances down in the lot and the location and the space for parking and all that stuff that's included, the details. I think we'll see a stadium shoot up in the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Inter Miami's stadium shoot up is already big enough as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hurricanes added up though. Wow, this Miami community is growing. It's growing like never before. It used to have a bad reputation, but now that the reputation is improving, everyone loves it.
And here's the new reputation with Cristobal here, and we talk about the Cristobal effect, right?
Yeah.
It's accountability, it's leadership, it's attitude, and it's winning, right? Those are the four key components that I think a program needs. With Manny Diaz, there was no accountability, right? Yeah. That's why we led the nation in missed tackles. 2 years in a row or a year ago, is because those guys that were continuing to miss tackles, they weren't being held accountable and being put on the bench until they want to act like college players. Yeah. So with Mario Cristobal, no matter what the position is, if you see players continue to make mistakes, the same mistakes over and over without learning from it, you're going to see some heads getting chewed off on the sideline, whether it's Charlie Strong, Kevin Steele. You're gonna see some heads being chewed in, which it wasn't like that before.
We need that.
Yes, absolutely.
As much players would probably get hurt or mentally challenged, we need that. We need that accountability. We need that big leadership.
Yep.
And I think it's good. It's tough love, but I think it's good for the program. If they can do this, and they can pull this off, keep consistent and healthy, and be held accountable. They will know how to play better football, which leads to one more question out of everyone's minds. If they can pull this off, is Miami favored to win? I'm not just talking about the national championship. I'm talking about the ACC, the bowl games. Are they the favorite to win? Maybe not this year, right? Because this might be because a lot of recruitments are also 2023. Recruitment. Yes. So they're coming next year, as well as more recruitments from next year going to the following year. But maybe not this year, but maybe starting next year, we could have a better answer.
I'm under the strong impression that this is a bridge year into next year, right? I think we're still going to be highly competitive this year. I think we still have the talent in a lot of positions, whether it's from the transfer or people that were on a roster beforehand. I think we have a lot of talent to be competitive in the ACC. I could see a 10-2 at best, 9-3, 8-4 type of season this year, which to me is a win. That's still a huge win because we're instilling good morals, good work ethics, good leadership going forward. That's what I'm all about. Small, you gotta crawl before you can walk, right? And I think this is the crawling until people start to see us walking and then inevitably running. A couple years down the road.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Well, before the walking, we should get everything settled on, because maybe not this year, but again, the next year we're all in.
Yes. Everyone better be learning how to walk by this offseason, and then we better be learning how to run come next year's season, in my opinion. Got to.
I wish the Marlins could learn that, but
theirs is they gotta learn how to swing before they can run, because they have to make contact before they can run to a base. So there's a little bit more with Miami Marlins.
Yeah, unlike them, everyone knows how to spend money.
Yeah.
I
know.
Everyone. But yeah, man, this has been good conversation. EJ, thank you for coming on. This has truly been the eye of the hurricane. We're going with category 5 throughout the season and the next. Category 6 there's no such thing as category 6, but even if there is, we're gonna get things going, and hopefully by next year or the following, we win this championship.
When we get back to ACC championships, college football playoff, I don't care if scientifically there's no such thing as a category 6. We're going to be a category 6. I guarantee you that.
I agree. That's a big words. Big words for the rest of the college football program.
Yep.
And this is something to look forward to. This is the most excited football I've been in years.
I was extremely excited. Obviously, the Larry Coker days. We went Randy Shannon, Al Golden. I was extremely excited when Mark Richt took over, right? He was the same thing, alma mater, lived in the area, big-time recruiter, couldn't win the big game at Georgia, but knew how to get players in, right? And then obviously it kind of fizzled off, and the name we don't speak of took over.
Yeah.
I think I'm more excited now than I was when Mark Richt took over. I just think that Mario is way more invested. He's way more tuned. He's way more up to date with everything. Mark Richt didn't want to offensively evolve, and that's why we stalled so many times. He wanted to run I form. You can't do that. Mario knows that coming from the Pac-12, where a lot of points are put up, he knows that the ball has to be moved in order to score, right? Yeah. So I am extremely, extremely, extremely excited and hopeful. Like I said, an 8-4 season, 9-3 season, to me, that's a massive win, because we are going to see a very strong product going forward. So I'm excited about the season. Obviously, I want to win every single game. But unlike most fans, I like to look things little bit by little bit. Small progression is some progression. 1% better every day is still getting better every day. Yeah. And I'm extremely excited to see them get 1% better every day.
Absolutely. When they get 100% better.
Oh man! Well, the country's gonna be scared, man. The country, we're gonna have accusations against us for recruiting violation, all kinds of stuff. Because, hey, the country knows when Miami's at the top of its game, it's curtains for the rest of it's curtains for college football landscape. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. The other teams have that kind of allegations against them. Like, for example, the Dolphins thing we just recently had, and there was a story a couple of years ago against Miami. They also had a lawsuit, but that shall not be discussed.
Yeah. Well, that shall not be discussed.
I don't think any lawsuits shall be discussed, because I think other teams did it worse, if not secretly worse than what Miami does. It's just Miami keeps getting caught. Meanwhile, big markets like LA, they're doing things as bad as the whole city does, and they don't get caught.
They have to bring these allegations out against Miami to slow their momentum down, because they know attributed to the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, when Miami assembled the best college roster to ever touch a football field. Yeah, they know when we catch that momentum, if they don't try to slow us down, nobody's going to. We're going to assemble the best players at any given time, and we're going to win national championships.
They're afraid of us.
100%.
If you're not afraid of us, why not be afraid of Alabama? You praise them a lot.
Yeah, because Saban's the golden child and he doesn't do anything wrong. That's why.
There's that too. there's definitely that argument. He's a good coach, but I just don't like how nobody gets treated fairly, like Saban does. There should be
nobody
equally.
Yep.
All right, man. EJ, thanks for coming on. It's been a good show. Really good episode. I enjoyed every conversation topic with you. Go Hurricanes.
Go Canes.
Go Canes. Yes. On behalf of FLT